When it comes to renting versus buying in Australia, everyone seems to have a strong opinion. Parents often insist that buying property is the only reliable path to building wealth, while friends might argue that the market is overpriced and renting is perfectly acceptable. Online discussions are filled with heated debates and conflicting advice, making it difficult to know which perspective to trust. Instead of relying on opinions, I'm going to break down the actual numbers for a 23-year-old earning $60,000 a year in a major Australian city. By the end, you'll have a clear, honest answer tailored to your situation, not just another generic take.
Most rent versus buy comparisons are often misleading because they tend to overlook critical factors on both sides. Many analyses ignore the opportunity cost of tying up a large deposit in property, which could otherwise be invested and potentially generate significant returns. On the other hand, some comparisons underestimate the true long-term cost of renting, failing to account for rising rents and the absence of equity building. The real answer isn't simply that buying is always better or renting is always smarter. The key variable that determines the best choice is what you do with the financial difference between the two options, whether you invest it wisely or let it slip away. Buying a median-priced property in a major Australian city in 2026 means facing significant upfront costs. For a $650,000 home, you'll typically need a 20% deposit, about $130,000, to avoid lender's mortgage insurance, or LMI. If you opt for a 10% deposit, around $65,000, you'll pay an additional $12,000 to $15,000 in LMI. Stamp duty adds roughly $25,000, though first home buyer concessions may reduce this in some states. Other expenses include conveyancing fees of around $2,000, building and pest inspections at about $600, and moving costs. Altogether, the real upfront cost to buy is between $160,000 and $170,000. On a $60,000 salary, saving just the deposit can take 5 to 7 years of disciplined budgeting, making the path to home ownership a long-term commitment. Over a decade, renting a similar two-bedroom unit in a major Australian city at $2,300 per month with an assumed annual rent increase of 3% adds up to approximately $315,000. Unlike buying, these payments do not build any equity or ownership in the property. The money is simply gone. However, if you have a $130,000 deposit that you would have used to buy and instead invest it, the outcome changes. Placing that deposit in a high-interest savings account earning around 4 to 5% could grow it to about $195,000 over 10 years. If you invest in exchange-traded funds with an average annual return of 8%, your deposit could potentially reach $280,000, demonstrating the significant impact of disciplined investing while renting. Let's look at a 10-year head-to-head comparison. If you buy a $650,000 property with a $130,000 deposit, your mortgage repayments at 6.5% interest total about $396,000 over a decade, with an additional $74,000 for rates, insurance, and maintenance. Assuming property values rise at the historical average of 6 to 7% per year, your home could be worth around $1,165,000 after 10 years, leaving you with approximately $645,000 in equity. On the renting side, you'd pay about $315,000 in rent over the same period. But if you invest your $130,000 deposit in ETFs at an 8% average return, it could grow to $280,000. By also investing the monthly difference between renting and buying, about $1,800, you could accumulate a total of roughly $610,000. The gap between buying and renting is surprisingly narrow, and even a small change in property growth or investment returns can tip the scales either way. The key behavioral factor that determines financial success in either renting or buying is discipline. For renters, consistently investing the money saved each month, rather than spending it, can lead to significant wealth accumulation over time. On the other hand, home ownership naturally enforces saving through mortgage repayments, which automatically build equity in the property. The numbers show that the financial outcomes are often quite close.
So the real difference comes down to whether you reliably invest the gap. Ultimately, your long-term results depend less on the scenario you choose and more on your ability to stick to a disciplined investment strategy.
At 23, my approach is to rent while focusing on growing my investment portfolio rather than immediately saving for a property deposit. Building up a $130,000 deposit would require years of strict budgeting, during which I'd miss out on valuable time for my investments to compound and grow. By investing the money I would have set aside for a deposit, I'm able to participate in the market earlier and potentially achieve greater long-term returns. I'm also considering the First Home Super Saver Scheme, which allows me to save up to $50,000 inside my superannuation and withdraw it for a deposit at a lower tax rate. This strategy gives me flexibility and keeps my options open for entering the property market when the timing is right. In summary, the financial gap between renting and buying in Australia at age 23 is much narrower than most people assume. The real difference comes down to how you manage the money you save or spend in each scenario. If you invest the difference consistently, renting can be just as effective as buying over the long term. In the next video, I'll be sharing a completely transparent breakdown of my own net worth at 23, including every dollar I have and owe. It's a candid look behind the numbers, and I hope it provides real insight into what these decisions look like in practice.